What I love to do is introduce the right people to the right people.
I assemble the smartest people I can think of or reach out to carry that conversation, and that's exactly what I've done today.
Please give my panel a round of applause. Welcome.
What's up, guys? Jay Martin here, CEO of Cambridge House. I'm joined by E.B. Tucker, author of Why Gold, Why Now, director of Metalla Royalty and director of NOVR.V. E.B., how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
No, it's good to have you back. I had you on the show a month or two ago at the Future World Summit. We caught up about all things copper and nickel. So I want to get your thoughts on a few things today. I have you for about 25 minutes, and I want to pick your brain on 5 or 6 topics. Why don't we kick it off with, I want to get your thoughts on the surge of retail dollars hitting the market on the back of apps like Robinhood and just easier to access. This is making it pretty tough to predict market movements. And do you think, like, obviously we're running companies up that maybe don't have valuations that correlate to the price, but is it also impacting the corrections in the market as well?
Well, we haven't really seen many corrections yet. I mean, that's to be determined. Yeah, I've got a friend that always says you want to be careful when people are making money out of proportion to their ability. So what that means is like this. I've got the guy that sprays my yard, giving me stock tips. I mean, that's a problem. However, when is it going to come to fruition? I don't know. I mean, the way it looks right now, it could go on a little longer. I mean, it just doesn't. What's funny in America is that you have this strange, super woke people that are really excited when they cancel their political enemies, but with no awareness that they themselves could be canceled one day too. So I liked it when they arrested all the people I didn't like, but then I was stunned when they arrested me. I mean, that's the whole story of how these things play out. Here's my point. Those people will tell you about that, and then they'll say, I got to make some money in the stock market. So you have like this very, very strange situation going on, and fake meat companies having instant, giant market caps, and magic mushroom companies that have ideas. The thing you don't want is to make a profit. Then people start doing the math on the company. What you want is to say that someday in the future, you hope to change the world. So that's how you get $1 billion market cap out of nothing. Look, I've been doing this over 2 decades. I've never seen a scenario where things are this speculative. However, I would not urge people to take some drastic action. It can go on for a while. I mean, I don't know. I don't know when it's going to stop. Maybe tomorrow, maybe in a year. I mean, you've got to ask yourself, how do you have people hanging from the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol and being shot, and gold prices down?
Yeah.
This will go down for me as a total mystery. Now, at some point, I think you have a massive adjustment because people say, I'm not comfortable having pizza coin in my digital wallet and pink sheet stocks, of companies that I have no idea what they do. In fact, they might even be total frauds. I have no idea. And at some point, I need some actual money to pay like my 0% car loan. I still have to make a principal payment, and I need that money. That's what usually stops this thing. And then everyone tries to then extract the money, and the cycle feeds on itself. And that's usually how this ends. When is it going to happen? Get some popcorn. It could be a while. I don't know.
Are you surprised it hasn't hit the gold market, like this surge in sort of retail speculation? It's hitting tech stocks and any sort of special situation stocks.
There's zero interest in the gold market. Zero. Zero interest in the gold market. It's funny. I mean, I get nonstop emails and texts from people about Bitcoin is trouncing gold. It's not a contest. I mean, it's 2 different markets. It's like Bitcoin. You want to talk about the Bitcoin market? Yeah, we can talk about that. It's good. I mean, but it's different. It's not the same thing. Bitcoin is not digital gold, and gold is not physical Bitcoin. I mean, it's not interchangeable. Okay, it's 2 different things, and so Bitcoin is in a mania phase. I mean, when you go 4x that quickly, and you got to be careful with that. Last weekend it was 42. Late in the week last week, 42,000. Then it was like 30,500. I mean, I was in Miami and heard these people next to me talking about they couldn't get into their wallet. their digital wallet. They were upset about it. Meanwhile, the price was collapsing. I'm like, this is serious business. I mean, this is not for like people that, cut grass for a living and they think they're going to become a millionaire by buying some, Dogecoin or something, from their smartphone. I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't work that way. It's never worked that way before. And typically that's a sign that things are a little unstable. And so when does it hit the gold price? Well, gold is extremely liquid. It's not an investment, it's money. And so a lot of times, it holds up fairly well when these things run into trouble. One piece of guidance I'd like to kind of share with people is that if you look at the chart of gold futures, what you'll see is that they move up and then they grind along, having these dramatic one-day drops straight down like a fireman going down to get to the fire truck, just straight down. And then they come back where they were and then they drop again. And these drops, like if people in the futures market, are very painful. I mean, they create huge problems for people that are leveraged in that trade. And I noticed that gold was up 25% last year, and people are like, that's too boring. I cannot possibly be excited about 25%. I don't have that much time. So I think about that. I mean, you double your money every 3 years if you grow at 25%. I mean, seriously, like it's not fast enough for you. Okay. So gold's up 25% in the year, but if you look, it's like, if the price worked at this level and then it shot up to 28 or 2080 or something, and then it's consolidating at 1850, and it's had about half a dozen of these huge, look on the chart, these big red bars on the chart. Just straight down and then grind. And so what I think goes on there, and I'm very connected in that business, is that then you run out of supply at that level, and then you got to move the price up a little higher. And so I think what you're going to see with gold is that you're going to see that continue to happen as we go further and further down this road that we're headed down, which is fiscal stimulus every few months, negative interest rates, higher minimum wages, cancel culture. The wokest people are in charge. Very expensive to have employees. Everyone's got plastic headgear on and giving temperature checks and spraying each other down with bleach and stuff. I mean, it's crazy. So this is all very expensive as well, and it's hard to do business. In fact, I know people that are running hotels that told me that at 60% occupancy, what was the hotel designed to function at? 80. How are you going to make that work? PPP loan. Okay, what? That's crazy. I mean, this is like, if you were describing this to me and then you said, what's the gold price? I'd say 3,000. Wrong answer. 1850. Okay. So gold's on sale. Buy some gold.
Okay. Got it. All right. Okay. There's like a bunch in there that I want to unpack. Last question on the retail population infiltrating the market, EB. It's been a big driving factor. And, I'm sure everyone's saw this story this week. For reference, today's January 12th when we're recording this. Elon Musk tweeted about switching from WhatsApp to Signal. A bunch of people misinterpreted this as that Signal company on the OTC. It went from 60 cents up to $38 the day. And I was just chatting with a few people today, like, what if that hit the gold market? And would that even be, the gold miners that I was talking to, they're like, why doesn't that come to our market? And my answer was, you don't want it to. Like, why on earth would you want that kind of volatile speculation to hit you on, unexpected activity? But, I look at things like that and you just can't help but think there's got to be this colossal crash on the back of this surge, this boom of these micro traders, right, driving prices up. And, I know a lot of the smart money that I pay attention to, people like Grant Williams, they're quietly getting in place and de-risking all over the place, prepping. Now, does your portfolio reflect that, EB? Like, how are you positioned right now?
Well, I have a lot of stock in the two companies where I'm on the board of. You mentioned Metalla, Royalty, MTA, and NOVR. I mean, I'm a director, so I have to file all these things. It's not a secret.
Yeah.
Why do I have a lot of stock in that? Well, I happen to really like the royalty business. I mean, I wrote about that in my book, Why Gold, Why Now? I explained the royalty business, and I'm not a short-term trader, really. I mean, I do something in the market, probably almost not every day, but almost every day. And so people say, well, you must be day trading. No, I'm not day trading. I'm building a position, or working around a position or doing something. But I mean, I have a lot of money on the line with gold royalties, because royalties give you the chance to speculate on higher commodity prices without the risk that comes along with traditional speculations. You're getting these long-term cash flow situations, from gold and silver with Metalla and from copper and nickel with Nova. So my portfolio looks like that. I do have a fair amount of cash. I mean, if you were to look separately from those, I have a decent amount of cash. I think gold is cash, by the way. I consider gold cash. I mean, you can turn gold into cash almost instantaneously. So, I mean, I think it's maybe better than cash because cash pays no income. Gold pays no income. And you can turn it right into whatever you want. So I do have quite a bit of that. But the danger is, okay, let me just give you another angle here, because I know Grant and all these guys and I respect them very much. But the danger is if you get totally out of this market, and if this goes on longer, you really miss a lot of like chaotic upside. I mean, it's really hard to go all or nothing. So what works for me is I don't go to nothing. I just go smaller. When I go smaller, I'm still involved. It's not to the same degree. So if you do go off a cliff like Wile E. Coyote, then you don't completely lose your life. And if it does keep going up, I mean, imagine if you last March, if you sold out of your portfolio and you're like, this is a disaster, you missed the biggest stock market rally in a decade.
Yeah.
Crazy, man. I mean, you can't, so I think you got to be careful. I think you got to be concerned. I think you got to be realistic that people that have no idea what a market cap is, they don't know, they've got, talk to some of these people, please. Like, let me tell you, there's a lounge here, cigar lounge that I was in, where the guy's telling me that he's got a $10,000 account and he wants to have it over $1 million in a year. And I mean, these people were playing video games before, and they think the market's a video game. And right now it is a video game. So in their defense, and it doesn't matter about fundamental analysis. I mean, it's a waste of time to sit around and analyze things. You gotta find the wokest company possible and like, just, get in there and watch it just scream higher. So until that stops, I mean, if you go all cash and you're sitting there, I mean, okay, it will come to the gold market. I mean, at some point, gold marches higher, and then you have companies that find something, and you see that go up 1,000%, and people hear about that, and Reddit posts and stock market gurus, and you've done this before. Now, when that happens, you guys like me are less excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited when nobody's around. I'm a loner. So, I mean, I'm in there, I was looking with Nova Royalty. I mean, Nova Royalty is still early days. I mean, copper and nickel have moved. Yeah. But I mean, they've not really moved. I mean, it's still early days, and you tell people about it and they say, yeah, it's a good idea, but it's early.
Right. Well, what do you mean not really? I think copper's at 7-year highs, right? And last we spoke,
it is, but the deal is that copper's not at all-time highs, and I think the realization that you just can't find small copper mines.
Right. Sure.
There's huge, big capex, like massive projects. First Quantum, and Rio, and all these guys. I mean, this is serious. The gold. I mean, you can have a 1 million ounce gold deposit, and Junior can put that into production. Yeah.
I think you have to be very strategic if you're looking at pure copper exploration plays, because your options are pretty limited. Yeah. And I know that's why you like Nova. And last time we talked, I was also talking to Alex Sukernick, talking to him today as well. And that was early November, mid-November. Yeah. Since then, it looks like Democrats are taking the Senate, right? Biden's going to push forward $400 billion in spending over the next 10 years to push forward.
No, more. Yeah, more. That's the appetizer portion. The whole steak is coming. Yeah. I mean, you're going to have even more than that. You're right on the timing, but the numbers are going to be much bigger from what they're calling for. Yeah.
So what's this actually going to do in terms of supply squeeze to the copper market, the nickel market? I mean, we're talking about clean energy. That's what this money's for.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what's interesting about copper compared to gold is that you have all this copper demand that starts coming in, and then how do you turn on the supply? Well, when you pull the trigger on one of these mines, I mean, you're making a half a century decision.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to Bingham Canyon, you fly into Salt Lake on Delta Airlines, and you fly right over Bingham Canyon south of the airport, and you look at that hole in the ground, which you can see from outer space. And the thing has been going for over 100 years. So, you know, if you're one of these big companies that we mentioned, you're making a decision. I mean, you already know what the big projects are. I mean, you know what's there. It's not like you're going to find it's $3.50, $3.75 a pound. You know, I mean, you take it to $5 a pound. It's, you know, these guys, you got to peel them off the ceiling. I mean, there's like the numbers really work. Okay, but we're talking $5 a pound. I mean, you know, that's a pound, not an ounce. I mean, people are like, this is a pound, nickel, $8 a pound. Okay, this is like not much money. Which what that means is that you got to have massive scale. So these mines are like giant. They're the size of a city. You know, it's just a humongous pit in the ground, and so you got to find them in heavy concentration. And so there's just not many of them. So when you look at the royalty space, if there's not many mines, there's not many royalties. You know, because it's not going to be but like, you know, so many royalties on a mine. I mean, it's not possible. So if your universe of potential projects is small and your universe of potential royalties is even smaller. So, I mean, and then they go for decades. I mean, imagine you're the CEO of one of those major miners and you're going to make a multi-billion-dollar decision that in like the year 2070 is still going to be with that company. That is like serious pressure, right? I mean, you get that wrong, and you know how this works. It's a cyclical market, okay? So when copper was at $4 or whatever in 2011, wherever the high was for it, JP Morgan starts a physical copper ETF. Remember that? That was just like a physical copper ETF. It's a total top, you know, and everybody, oh, this is great, you know, and then you're down. Okay, now everybody, we're just coming off that bottom.
Right.
So, you know, as well as I do, when you're at the top, you think this will keep going. When you're at the bottom, you think this will never get better. Right. So we've turned the corner of this will never get better. And we say, well, maybe it'll get a little bit better, but we're not sure yet. So, okay, well, why is all this important to understand? Well, Nova Royalty, who are the competitors? I'm still trying to find them. It's not that many. So there's just not that many assets. So you grab the royalty, and you've got decades and decades, and Biden is going to drop a supply crunch on this thing. I mean, think about it. Like I was just reading last night about the trend of virtual power plants is what they call them. It's where you capture and store green energy to be distributed in a tiny piece of the grid. So you end up having like all these different power sources that are on the grid that pull down the big demand driver of the grid that's kind of been how we got here, you know, 100 years to get to where we are now. And you start reading about this stuff and you're like, where are you going to put it? You put it in batteries. And how are you going to connect all the batteries? What are you going to do? And probably in the US, at some point, you're going to bury all the power lines too. I mean, it only makes sense that at some point you bury them. Where are you going to get all this copper, man? I don't know where you're going to get it. I mean, I have a friend with a 700 person electric company. He's a Nova shareholder. He has 700 employees, and they do a residential installation. And he is freaking out about the copper price, man. He's like, I can't believe it. I said, yes, it's going to go higher. He said, what? What am I going to do? I said, you better get some Nova. So anyway, the point is that this is why I'm excited about Nova, is because I look at the trajectory here, and it's not going to take a lot. We're not talking about a half-court shot here, Jay, by Biden. We're not talking about that. We're talking about like the writings on the wall. I'm with you.
And I see all that, EB, and it makes complete sense to me. And it's very easy to see the bullish case. You know, what I try to figure out at that point is like, what could make us wrong though? You know, and some of the things that you talked about earlier, just about like hotel occupancy, for example, sitting at 60, like it's not sustainable, you know, and I feel like, you know, we've gone through a few phases since the crash in March, you know, the liquidation crisis. And then as Raoul Paul calls it, you know, the liquidation crisis followed by the hope phase where the Fed swoops in, everything's going to be okay. We've been rescued. We're back to normal, but we aren't. Right? You can't print business incomes And I've got lots of buddies that own restaurants in the hotel industry. You can't recreate that cash flow. So what happens? Are we about to see like system-wide insolvencies when it comes to the small to medium enterprise? And then what happens after that? And then, this plan is great, 400 billion over 10 years, and maybe that's the appetizer. But like, what do you see, EB, that could prove this thesis wrong?
All right. Well, look, let's make one thing clear. In the book, I talk about how civics class, they taught you this is a capitalist system. This is not a capitalist system. This is a crisis system. So in a crisis system, the government gets to choose who survives and who fails. So remember, like junk bonds, the Fed bought some junk bonds, but not other junk bonds after the March crisis.
Yeah.
Some businesses get the PPP money. Some businesses have to pay it back. Do you see how this is going? So sadly, the restaurant people are doomed. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, it means, hey, if you're in a business that requires lots of labor, that's sensitive to rising food costs, and that requires consumers that have to come in there with dental shields and plastic gloves and a Tyvek suit on to consume a pizza, sure. And then when they consume it, they got to pay 20% gratuity because they got some whiny, debt-laden server that you could barely hear what they're saying because their mouth is all cold like this. I mean, this is not pleasant. So this is not the type of place. I mean, you were making 10% net profit there. Forget about it. It's done. Now, also the guy that owns the building is having a problem because the restaurant moves out and there's no new restaurant to move in because people aren't excited about owning a restaurant. And you'll say to yourself, well, this is a bad indicator. Oh yeah, if you were in a capitalist system, that's a bad indicator, but you're not in a capitalist system. It's a crisis system. The money goes where Washington says it goes. And Washington says it goes to green energy. Doesn't matter that the capitalist setup behind green energy might look a certain way. The money goes where Washington says it goes. This is a controlled economy. This is not a capitalist system. So it's very difficult to trade in that environment. And that's why you look at these woke people now they love this new system that we're in, but they also want to make money the way you would in a capitalist system, which is by financing businesses that are going to grow. So in this case, it's just a whole new world here. And so we got to do our best to play this world, and knowing that if Washington can change it on a dime. I mean, for example, carbon credits. I have a friend that emailed me, trades carbon credits. You know how these things work? It's crazy. Big company wants to offset its carbon use, buys these carbon credits. There's no regulator supervising how you create these carbon credits. You just sell them to the company who the offset, like you fly on an airline and it says, would you like to offset the carbon from your trip? Yes, I'll give you $10. So what do they do with it? I don't know. Do they plant a tree or something? No, they pay someone else to plant a tree and they've offset the carbon, allegedly. But who supervises? No one. And what does it cost? Who knows? I mean, is a guy even with a shovel even put a tree in the ground? Is there even a tree? Do we get to see a picture of the tree? No, you don't get to see any of that. So my point is that that's not a capitalist system. That's a state-controlled capitalist system. Okay, so that's the scenario that we're in. It's very important to realize that.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you. Now, I'm surprised there's not, given that that's the case, I guess I'm still surprised there's not more investors like you or I, maybe there are, that aren't looking for those off-grid, safe haven asset classes, right? How do, because that's chaos and you can make money at it if you understand your position right and get that, right? Even in businesses that make sense, i.e. renewable energy, Nova Royalty, et cetera. But how come with all that macro picture, you think on a global level, there would be more of a driving force to historic safe havens like gold, maybe? And how much of this do you think is driving the Bitcoin price as another off-grid asset class? Or is that just...
All right, look, first thing is you got to remember that by the time the herd gets there, it's too late. So I bought a lot of rental property after the 2009 crisis that we had in Florida. I was paying $10 a square foot. I have these places now. I have proof of this. It's not just some made up number. I mean, this is my stuff. And let me just tell you something. I was the only person buying. All these guys with the used Maserati and gold chains and those fake big gigantic watches that you get at like Sears that look like they're nice, but they're not. All those guys were gone, man. They were living at their mom's house. Okay. They were long gone. They were blown out because they lost their source of financing. It took them a long time to come back, like a couple years. By 2012, 13, they started coming back and they were very cautious. And now this is 8 years later, they're full tilt. All right. They're speculating on everything. I mean, they're doing hard money loans. They're buying shacks. They're putting, a lot of money into these things. They're speculating on getting FHA buyers to come in. It's full on speculative mania. So by the time the herd gets there, it's too late. All right. I mean, if you're like trying to speculate on penny stocks that have coronavirus potential, too late, man. So, okay. So when you look at this industry we're talking about, and you're like, well, why aren't people speculating on copper? You make the mistake of supposing that everybody is a rational market thinker. See, what's actually more likely is you've done a lot of homework, and that's why you like these things. Or you've been studying. Okay, people aren't studying, Jay. They're not studying. Okay, they're walking around with a dental shield on and you're watching the news and doing Facebook and everything. Okay, they're not studying. Yeah. They're waiting till their friend tells them about it, and their friend tells them about it, and they feel good about it because their friend told them. Their friend is smart, and he did something smart like a year ago, so he must be smart. So we'll just do what he says, and we'll be part of that little crew. And that's what's happening with crypto also, because people are mistaking the crypto gold situation. Like we already said earlier, Bitcoin is not physical gold. Gold is not digital. Gold is not physical Bitcoin. It's not vice versa. Okay. Yeah. These two aren't interchangeable. They're different. And so, Bitcoin is on the grid. Now it's popular because it's on your phone. So it seems like it's different it seems virtual. Okay. But it's on the grid. It's infinitely traceable and trackable, and you require a certain network to trade that. It's not the same. Is it going to rally higher? Probably, but it's not the same as gold. It's not the same thing. Market cap is much smaller. It's very different. Okay. And if you are in that market, it's not crazy at all. People ask me about it. They just won't stop asking. And I'm like, well, just buy the thing. I mean, what are you asking me for? You ask me for permission? I don't give permission. I don't give anyone permission to do anything. I mean, you can hurt yourself any way you choose. So I've got a specialty in this market that I'm in. Metalla was up something like 120% last year, something like that. And gold was up 25% because Metalla owns gold royalties, which give you a way to speculate on higher commodity prices. That's what I do. So people get up in my face about this Bitcoin thing. I'm like, yeah, it's great. I mean, I've had some trades in the Bitcoin space. It's good, but it's not what I do. I mean, it's not. And also, I got to tell you, there's going to be FEDcoin. Okay, it's not going to be private money. I mean, you lost your mind. Like, what do you think these guys are just going to give you private money? Why don't you have a Cambridge House coin and you'll use that to pay for Cambridge House events? And it'll be great. Because it'll be better. But you know what you got to buy that with? Canadian dollars. So you're going to have to, okay, so it's a small technical detail. But the point is that like you're going to have a Fed coin in the US, you're going to have a Fed coin in Canada. Mm-hmm. It's infinite control. It's totally controlled. Every single part of your financial life will be controlled by the central bank. Period. Yeah. There's no freedom. I'm telling you, look, you got to look around, man. This is not a free society. This is a very, very controlled society, as it should be, because people have given the power to be controlled over, and the people they gave it to are going to use it. Right. It's not some sort of like conspiracy. I mean, people want to be controlled. They feel comfortable with the government in charge, controlling everything. They feel comfortable with Facebook. Hey, here's me and Jay over having a pizza. Hey, here's me and Jay out at the Glacier National Park. Can you see how much fun we're having? Okay, so this is people, but everywhere. These pictures are like geo pin dropped everywhere you are, facially recognized. People love it, man. They love it. This is what they want to do. They want to do this. So they want to do it with their financial life too. Completely on the grid, infinitely controllable, every dollar tracked, every Fed coin tracked. This is the technology. So what do you think? They're going to let you have some private digital currency just for fun? What are you going to do? Your weekend activities, your vices? Well, we know you got a little thing, some vices on the weekend. Use your Bitcoin for that. We'll let you do that and not be. No way, man. Are you kidding? It's ridiculous. Totally ridiculous.
Yeah, I got to ask.
Where you're headed.
Is this why you're not on Twitter?
Well, I mean, I'm not on anything. I mean, I don't have Facebook. Yeah, I mean, I have LinkedIn. I have LinkedIn because it's a virtual business card, and I'm a businessman, so I have a figure it's appropriate to have a business card. But I don't have Instagram or, and this is what's so funny is that recently this girl said to me, "How do you meet anyone?" It's just what she said to me. How do you meet anyone if you're not on Instagram and Facebook? How do you meet anyone? I said, well, I mean, I met you right now. That's pretty good, right? I mean, here I am.
Yeah.
So I'm an anomaly. I mean, I
get asked that question all the time from our guests. They're like, how do I find EB on Twitter? And I'm like, honestly, I don't think he's on Twitter.
He's not on there.
Yeah.
No, he's not on there.
Yeah.
He's not on there. No, he's not on there. You know what they got to do? They got to tune in to Cambridge House interviews, and then they'll see me, and they can submit their questions, and you'll ask them to me. But that's what people need to realize is that I tell you everything that I'm doing. I wrote a whole book. See, what people want is, what they want, Jay? 140 characters with the answer.
Yeah.
But this book is 100% what I would tell my sibling or my best friend or person that depended on me. I would say, read this book. This is the whole map. This is the roadmap of how I got here and where I'm going. I always tell people exactly what I'm doing, but they don't want that. They want 140 characters. Here's the secret code. Oh, wow. Okay. How long does it take? 10 minutes. I don't have that kind of time. I need to be rich now.
I got to be rich now. Yeah. Well, I'm with you, man. That's the sentiment. Okay. Look, it's been awesome catching up with you, EB. This was tons of fun. Thanks for coming back on the show and getting back in front of my audience. I appreciate your time. And until next time.
Thanks for having me.